welcome to my channel, and for the 38 subscribers that I have, welcome back. I am here today with Shannon from the Golden Cookie blog and podcast. We are going to be doing the second video of the mental health series. This is going to be Shannon's story and the different postpartum mental health issues she's dealt with. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the beginning of when you kind of started dealing with mental health, or when you were more aware of mental health issues?
I guess I've always dealt with it. Just growing up, obviously people wrote it off as like PMSing and just, wanting attention or whatever have you. And so since they wrote it off that way, I wrote it off that way. And then once I got pregnant back in 2014 with my daughter Sophie, I noticed it was frequent and almost 24/7. It was like I was always crying, I was always sad, and it was more of me pushing it. I'm pregnant, I'm hormonal, my body's changing, this and that. And then I realized, maybe it's not. I would cry all the time, and Oscar would always ask me, what's wrong? How can I help you? And I'm just like, you can't. Like, I don't know what's wrong. Like, I don't know how to stop crying. And I thought maybe, it was probably because, my mom lives in a different state. I was doing this by myself. I had his family and, you and mom and dad here, and it was just different. And I just wanted my mom there, and it was like, she couldn't. And then once I had her, I remember always saying, I liked her. I never remember saying I love her. And actually, Martha came to the apartment to see her after I'd gotten home from the hospital, and she was like, I love her, she's so cute, and this and that. And I was like, yeah, she's okay, I like her. But I felt a bond with her, but it was always, I like her. I never said I loved her for a while there, and Oscar was always questioning that. And honestly, I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know why I can't just say I love her. And, when I was pregnant, I was excited. Like, at first, I was, a little down about it because of my whole family situation, looking down on it, not being married and having a baby and whatever have you. And I think I realized it started when we moved into the apartment. It started in February. So I found out I was pregnant in November, and I was like 15, almost 16 weeks. So about maybe like 5.5 months, I found out I was, dealing with all this stuff when it finally hit me. And I didn't seek help for it until Sophie was 11 months old. And I went to see a doctor about it, and, I filled out this questionnaire, and, they asked me, do you have suicidal thoughts or thoughts of harming yourself? And yes, I did. I had suicidal thoughts. I thought of harming myself, like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to live anymore. Like, it would just be better if I wasn't here for basically myself. Obviously, I'm sure, Oscar and the baby wanted me around, but for me, I felt, it was better for me. Like, I would feel better if I wasn't, which is selfish for me, because I had a baby depending on me. I had a husband depending on me. And then I filled out the questionnaire. She said that it seemed to be, that I was dealing with postpartum. She had me take a blood test, which then I found out I was dealing with hypothyroidism, which was dealing with me losing all the weight after I had her. I was maybe down to 90 pounds. I used to be in like 7-8 size jeans, and I was down to like almost a 0, and I've never been a 0 my whole entire life. And then she put me on medication. She gave me Lexapro. It was probably a low dose of it, now that I'm thinking about it, because of the fact that when I would take the medication, I feel like I had to make myself think positive thoughts to make it work. Because there'd be days where I would take it, and I just kept thinking, today's going to be a good day, you're not going to let anything bother you, and this and that, and I would have a good day. But I remember one time we were going to a family reunion for Oscar's family, and it was raining. I want to say we were running late, because now with him we always run late. And it was far, and it was raining, and they were still going to do it outside. And I was like, bro, like, I have this little baby, I don't want to be outside, it's raining, this and that. So I think like the whole emotions of the situation and
the stress.
Exactly.
Because that sounds stressful to me already.
It was.
But then again, I deal with anxiety, so.
So it was just too much, and I had taken my pill that day, and just all one thing after another, and I was just like,
you still felt
I'm
that
done.
pull.
Yeah.
It wasn't that feeling positive. It wasn't, you know, obviously medication helps in some cases, and I feel like, you know, it was really good that you did seek a doctor, you did get on medication, but it's not going to be the cure-all pill. At least in this situation, it doesn't seem to be the cure-all pill.
I feel like, you know, some people who take medication for whatever, you know, it doesn't have to be for depression or anything like ADHD or whatever, they feel, I've heard people say, you know, they feel like a zombie. And this one was more the lines of, you know, I don't want to feel that way, so I'm just going to try to think positive and be positive and try to look at the best outcome I can, rather than, you know, being negative and trying to, you know, be like, well, it's not working, you know, what I need something else, give me something more, like, you know, and then it not working, then just me just being like.
So when did you stop taking your Lexapro?
I stopped taking my Lexapro when I found out I was pregnant with the baby, because I noticed on the label of the prescription bottle, it states, you know, it's obviously for it's an antidepressant and for anxiety, and on it it says, you know, if you're pregnant, seek a doctor. And so once I read that, I was like, you know what, I'm just not gonna take it. And so I stopped taking it, and when I found out I was pregnant, you know, I was really excited, and I was, you know, enjoying my pregnancy. I found out it was, like, I think what really got me down mainly with that pregnancy was everybody kept saying it was going to be a girl. And I didn't want another girl. I was like, no, I can't. I didn't want a girl to begin with. But, so I think that's also what kind of got me towards that point in my pregnancy. I found out I was pregnant with the baby, the new one, around, like, I want to say it was like 6-7 weeks, I think. Or maybe 5. I found out earlier with him than I did Sophie, and once I found out that, I looked at the prescription bottle pill they gave me, and, you know, it says on there, you know, if you're pregnant, consult a doctor, whatever. And so when I saw that, I was like, you know what, I'm just not going to take it and not worry about it. And at the time, like, when I found out I was pregnant, I was, like, super excited, and because I want another baby. Now that I think about it, I'm like, dang, you know, I really just want one. Can I get rid of one of you? But, like, at the time, like, exactly. But at the time, I was like, you know, oh, you know, they're great distance, you know, and I really wanted to be a boy, and everybody kept saying, you know, you're gonna have another girl, da, da, da. And I didn't want to be like my mom, 3 girls deep, and then finally a 4th one a boy, because I can't deal with that many kids. But so yeah, so that was, I stopped taking it once, you know, I got the confirmation, you know, you're pregnant again. So I stopped taking it, and I was fine. You know, this time around, I wasn't crying. I didn't feel like I was in that depressed state. I was more the lines of enjoying this pregnancy, and I was like, you know what, this is my last baby that we're going to have, so I'm going to really try to enjoy it to the fullest. And then, like, something happened maybe around, like, maybe like 5 months, when I was just like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want another baby. And I don't know if it's because of the fact that everybody kept saying it was going to be another girl, which brought me down. But even though I found out it was a boy, I still felt that way. I didn't want the baby. I was just like, you know, I'm not going to abort the baby because of my beliefs, but, you know, I'm going to go ahead and find a family out there that would want to take care of this baby. And I don't know if it was the stress of financial situation. I mean, because really, you're never really financially stable for a child, because children are going to need and want everything, and you're going to want to be able to give them everything they want, and obviously you're going to have to get them everything they need. And looking back at it now, you know, it's kind of silly the way I felt, and I feel bad, honestly, even talking about it out loud and, like, explaining it to people, because it's just like, my kid's going to see this later on and think that I don't love him. But no, like, with him, when I saw him, it was totally different. I had a C-section with him, and when they brought him around the curtain and they showed me him, this is so sad. I love my child, I promise you. I looked at him and I said, ew, he's ugly.
Oh my god!
And I didn't cry with him. I was like, you know, you're ugly, but I love you.
You're my ugly thing.
Yeah, exactly. You are ugly, but I made you. You were in me, so I love you.
So would you say that, because it seems like when you were having the episodes with Sophie, it was around 5 months that you were starting to cry and the overwhelming. And then also with Bubby, he, it was 5 months into that where you started having that decline of acceptance of the pregnancy. So maybe there's something around 5 months of the hormones that develop, or the stage. In this case, I mean, that's the only thing I can think of.
I personally think it could have been just really my hormones that really just, I guess, I don't really know how to explain it.
Or could it have been that that's when you found out the sex of the babies?
Probably. I think maybe it could have been like the burden of it, like the thought of like having to deal, like with Sophie, she was obviously a girl. And my whole thing was, my grandma straight off the bat told me I was going to have a girl. She knew I was going to have a girl because God was going to punish me for being so bad as a child. And I knew she was right, and sure enough, she was right. And so I think that's like when it hit me, and I was like, dang, she's going to put me through as much hell as I put my parents through and my grandparents through.
So you didn't want to deal with your own.
My own spawn.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, after you had Bubby, I know that you went through an extensive ordeal of, considering adoption.
Yes.
And actually talking to people about it.
Mm-hmm.
But what made you change your mind? Were you still, in your pregnancy, or was it after delivery that you finally decided that you were going to go through with it?
I think it was still in my pregnancy, because I always talked about it to Oscar, and he was all like totally against it, like, you're not going to get my baby up, my child's not going to be out there, and I know that he's out there, and this and that. And then also the whole thought of, how am I going to tell his parents, how am I going to tell my parents, how is our family going to take it, even though it wouldn't have to do anything with them, because it's, I choose what I'm going to do with my children, but it was still more the lens of like, what are people going to think? Like, I have one child already, what is this child going to think when he gets older and starts looking for us, or, whatever have you. And, when I talked to the adoption lawyers, and the lady that is, I can't remember if she was head over the adoption agency that I had contacted, but, she was telling me about closed adoption, private adoption, not even knowing who you're going to give your baby to, and like open adoptions and stuff like that. I was like, maybe I would feel led later on to do an open adoption, but as of right now, it was more the lines of like, I'm not sure if I can do this, I'm not sure if I can love you as much as I love my daughter. Like, I guess it was just a mixture of everything. And then Oscar not wanting to do it, I didn't want to, like, not necessarily disobey my husband, but I wanted to respect his wishes too.
Yeah, you didn't want to drive that, because I mean that would be a big
issue in our marriage, and it would have just been really, I guess I'd feel really bad to put him in that position and just be like, listen, I'm making this decision with or without you. Yeah. And honestly, I don't think I could even do that. I don't even think adoption lawyers would allow that. I wouldn't. I mean, we're married, so wouldn't the dad have to sign? Yeah, so
I would assume so.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, because I mean, we're married, so it's not like I just have a baby daddy, But it was just a lot of things, I guess, and it was. I mean, the whole pregnancy, like, I stopped enjoying it after a while because of me going through that extensive research and even talking to a girl who we both know in regards to actually giving her my child, because at the time she thought she couldn't due to an accident, but now, she has a baby of her own, and, so she's doing well, but it was more the lines of, I was asking her how she, I guess, looked at her biological mother, and she loves her adoptive family, like that's her family, and she wouldn't see her life any other way, and she was grateful that she was given that chance at having a better life. And so I always thought, well, we could always give her the baby. I even told Oscar who I talked to, and about her situation, and I was like, she's close with us, we're friends. I wouldn't necessarily say like close friends, but we're friends with her, so it's not like it would be, I feel like we would be like the aunt and uncle that would just come visit, it wouldn't be something that would technically be like a whole adoption situation, like obviously we'd have adopted papers, but it was more the lines of we both know each other, so it'd be a lot easier than just me giving my child to some like random person.
And then, so after Bubby was born and you decided, okay, you're going to keep him, how did you feel? Did you go back into that depressive state, that how you were when you had Sophie?
I don't think I did, because with him, it was more of an instant connection after I called him ugly and I saw him. I mean, it took us, and once Oscar held him, we finally picked a name on him. Well,
that took forever.
Yeah, that took, yeah. It took till he was born. But then when we finally went to do the birth certificate, we changed his name. And I mean, it was still the same, we just added another name, which now I'm wishing we would have changed his whole name, but, so, like, from that instant connection of me, like, seeing him and actually crying over the fact that I was happy he was here was just what made me happy, period. Like, with Sophie, I cried because I saw Oscar cry. It wasn't because I was happy about the baby. It was, no, my husband's crying because he's so excited about this baby. No, I'm crying because you crying because of this crying. So, it was, with me and her, it wasn't, like, I feel like it was, I loved her.
It wasn't an instant connection.
Exactly, yeah. Because, like, I was excited to hold her and everything, but it's like, it didn't feel real. Like, it didn't feel like, you know, I just had this baby. This is my baby. Like, I'm going to be your mom. Like, even now when I think about it, I'm like, bro, like, it still creeps me out that me and Oscar are married. Like, freaking, what, like, 16 years, 15 years later, we're married and we have 2 kids. Like, it's still hard to grasp. And I even told Oscar from day one, like, bro, like, when we're holding Gray, it's still not going to hit. I don't think it's going to. So with the baby, it was more the lines of, you know, instant, I'm your mom, you're my son. Like, it's crazy. Like, and it makes me happy when I think about it because, like, I love him so much and he's so freaking cute.
I think that there's something to the saying of, you know, mother-son connection is definitely a big thing.
Definitely.
Like Josiah, I mean, I don't have a daughter to base this off of, but I couldn't fathom loving another child as much as I love Josiah or any way different. But, you know, I've spoken to other parents and my mom, obviously, and she's like, you don't love them at the same. It's a completely different love that you have for that child. So but with Bubby, you necessarily didn't feel depressed, so you say that you were happy about it. Now, did anything else come into the mix emotionally wise?
I guess more anxiety. I've always been someone who has OCD when it comes to certain stuff, and I guess with having 2 kids and, you know, having a husband, it just, like, the mess was everywhere. It was just, I would try to clean, but it was just, like, it wasn't getting anywhere, and the recovery time, I felt like, for the C-section was long, because I had to make sure I didn't lift heavy stuff and, you know, do too much bending and everything. So it was more the lines of, you know, I have to take care of myself to make sure that my kids are going to be able to be taken care of later, and I don't have to, you know, go get some, like, crazy surgery because, like, I popped stitches or something, you know. And that's one bad thing that sucked, because I'm just figuring out my body as I'm getting older, because as I'm getting older, I'm finding out I'm allergic to different stuff now, because before it was like nothing, and now it's like every little thing. So I remember
it definitely caused anxiety, all that, having to deal with, you know, your husband, and that's a whole nother person you're living with. First off, and if you're married, you know, prior to having kids, you kind of get that time to deal with it, because if you're living together, you have that time to kind of sort it out. But if you get married because you're having a kid, or, you know, while you're having a kid,
it just comes along.
You have to learn as you go, so you don't get that grace period of actually learning their habits, learning the things that they do. Even if you're in a relationship for X amount of years, living together and being in a relationship with somebody is so different. And then, you know, adding kids in the mix, you know, I can't imagine, one, it's a lot. We call him Hurricane Juju, because when you're cleaning up, he's literally right behind you taking everything out. And so you have 2 that are capable of walking and doing all that stuff. And you have Noah's Ark, too, over there.
Leave my Ark alone.
So, I mean, it's no surprise that anxiety comes with it.
It's just, it's too much, because, like, I'll clean, and 5 seconds later I turn around and Big Oscar throws his stuff on the floor or on the couch. And then Sophie's coming along with all her toys and her Legos, and then Bubby comes along, and, I mean, he doesn't carry much, but he destroys enough with his sisters, so it's just like, I can turn around and in a blink of an eye, it's just a mess again.
Now, what is the feeling that you get in those moments? Like the exact feeling? Like, is it heavy weights? Is it...
Like, when it comes to mess, it's more the lines of I feel like I can't breathe because I feel like I'm getting, you know, covered. I feel claustrophobic, and I already deal with claustrophobia anyway, and I don't like to be disorganized. Like, even at work, my desk has to be clean or else I start having, like
anxiety attack.
I gotta clean this, I gotta clean.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
And that's definitely how I feel when it comes to messes. But when it comes to, like, me getting home from work and going to get the kids, and, like, the kids are being loud, and Sophie doesn't want to share her toys with her brother, and, you know, the baby, you know, being upset because she doesn't want to share her toys, and, you know, I'm trying to get on to her, like, you know, share, you don't snatch, you don't do this, you don't do that. And when it just comes to that point, like, I just have to get away. Like, I can't be with all the loud noise. Like, it's to that point where I'm more the lines of going to get a headache, and I need to get out before I scream because
you feel overwhelmed.
Exactly.
But now you're saying that you're dealing with more of, like, anxiety attacks, with disorganization, you know, the normal things that kind of come with life of having 2 kids and a family, really, and, you know, animals. So is there anything that you're doing to try to, you know, combat that anxiety?
Honestly, obviously we just started the new year, and everybody's all, new year, new me. No, I'm going to still be the shitty person I was before. I'm just going to try to be more positive. And before, you know, it was more the lines of, like, I would just sit there and just not necessarily wallow, because, like, I wouldn't be like, oh, boo-hoo me or whatever. Yes, exactly. I would harp on it. And when the kids would get loud and, like, you know, I would just want to, like, just go insane, I would just sit there in a bad mood, and I would take it out on Oscar, and, like, we would argue. And, you know, I'm trying my hardest to, like, be more positive. Like, the past few days, I've been trying my best to be positive about everything, and, like, I've been having good days. And I'm just, like, you know, last night a situation happened that you know about, and, you know, just earlier that night I had posted, you know, this new year I'm going to focus more on the positive instead of the negative of what life brings. You know, I'm going to be a better wife and a mother and this and that. And, you know, later on that night, a whole situation happened.
God and the universe gave you a reason to try to be positive, to test that theory to see if it was going to work. But, I mean, thinking about it, you know, positive thinking will help out a lot in life. That is for sure.
Definitely, yeah.
You know, you manifest what you create and what you pray on and what you put out there, and it will come to you in a form. But it only goes so far if you're not, you know, doing the things and acting upon it. Like, let's say, for example, you will get the tools needed to create these things, but if you don't use them, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So thinking about it can only get so far, but that is a very good first step to keep your mind clear of it, because your mind is such a powerful thing. That's where all of the things stem from, you know, whether it be hormonal imbalance in your mind and body, your mind can control any little thing.
Of course, yeah.
So I feel like going and taking that first step is a really big, you know, gesture, and just to go forward and continue with it, because 2018 is still brand new. We're what, 3rd day in?
Yeah, and the worst day was yesterday.
Is it
yeah,
Wednesday?
it's the 3rd. Yes.
It's Thursday.
No, it's Wednesday.
I will be doing shit for the rest of my life. I don't know. Because of that.
Yes, exactly.
What would you tell people? Let's start from there.
Okay, I guess I would tell people, you know, don't be ashamed to go ahead and speak to somebody, whether it's a friend or a doctor, about how you're feeling, whether it's suicidal thoughts or it's, you know, you're just sad, you want to talk to somebody, you want to explain, you know, why you feel this way, or ask somebody, you know, can you give me some idea why I feel this way, or, you know, your outbursts of rage and anger, what you're dealing with, and how you can overcome, you know, the feeling that you are feeling. And understand that this isn't something that should be taken lightly, because, you know, us normal people deal with it, and you see people in Hollywood dealing with it and actually committing suicide. And, you know, it's not being talked about enough, you know, like, people are like, you know, it seems like people are not necessarily praising it, but speaking about it cut too much that makes people,
Too
say,
mainstream.
let's go ahead and,
Yeah, I think that it's not being talked about enough, like you're saying, and it's making things sound like, oh, only a select few people deal with this. And in all actuality, it could be your neighbor, your coworker, your spouse, your family relative, your best friend, your son or daughter who's actually dealing with some kind of emotions that we're just writing off and not listening to them, when they want to talk. So I will be posting the number below for postpartum depression hotline and other mental health hotlines that you can contact, or even, just reach out to them, look on their website for tips and tricks and kind of helping hands. But if you have not watched my video, it's somewhere up here. Give that a watch, a listen, and let me know what you think on that. Give it a share if you want. If you enjoyed this video and liked what we had to say or related to you on any level, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe below so that you can get notified of whenever I do post a new video. That is all I have for you guys today.
Thanks for watching. I'm The Golden Cookie.
And as always, I am TheeMomarazzi.